virtual.
I'm sure that there are aliens amongst us. I'm sure. They may not necessarily identify themselves, but I've met some people who I suspect are aliens.
Wasn't any of your co-stars, were they? I have one more question. You're very philosophical in the process in which you work, and we were talking a little bit about the icon of Spock and how long that image is going to live long and prosper long after you're gone, and the fact that Joseph Campbell was a great influence on you in some of your work, as he was for George Lucas, and why that we need heroes, why Spock and Vader and Luke Skywalker, why they continue to live on in culture. What is the importance of those characters?
Well, let's talk about Joseph Campbell for just a moment. Joseph Campbell, a sociologist who wrote a very interesting book called A Hero with a Thousand Faces. And in it, he talks about the fact that our heroes in fiction, all through the ages, have had a similar kind of story construct. The hero typically is a person who leaves home, according to Campbell, leaves home under troubled circumstances, goes out on an adventure, comes across certain conflictual situations which are either comedic or dramatic, depending on the type of story we're telling, works out the problem, and comes back home and is reintegrated successfully as a hero into the society. The Star Wars story is very similar. Luke Skywalker is the hero of that story in that sense. When I was making Star Trek 4, we were developing the story for Star Trek 4, I discovered after we were well into it that we were following the Joseph Campbell design, that the crew of the Starship Enterprise was now in trouble because they had taken the Enterprise illegally and destroyed it. They were stuck on the Genesis planet and heading home, and to try to reintegrate themselves into the culture. On the way home, they come across this interesting problem. Earth is under siege and is in danger of drowning. And what is the Enterprise crew going to do about it? So they solve the problem, and then sure enough come back and are reintegrated successfully into society. So it was thrilling to me to know that movie, the story of the Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, really was following the classic design of Joseph Campbell's hero story. It worked out very well. I'm very proud of that movie. I thought we did a very good job. We had a great spirit. To push some of the environmental aspect more away. Well, how it came about is kind of interesting. I was, let's see, it was 1971, almost 30 years ago. I was on my way to New York to go to Spain. Stopping in New York to go to Spain to act in a movie with Yul Brynner, a Western called Catlo. And your response tells me you didn't see this movie. Anyway, I was represented for theater by an agent in New York who I had never met. And I thought I should stop in and say hello to him. And I was growing this beard for this Western that I was going to do in Spain. And when I got to his office and we talked for a little bit, and he said, what are you doing this summer? This was in the spring of 71. I was on my way to Spain for a couple of months. He said, what do you want to do in the summer? And I said, well, I don't have any plans. And he said, well, would you be interested in doing Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof? And I said, yes, I would be interested. And immediately he made a phone call, and I went over and met some people, and we agreed that I would do this role during an 8-week tour on the East Coast of the United States. I had a great time doing it, among other things, because the story of Tevye and his family in Fiddler on the Roof was very much my own family story. My parents were Russian immigrants. They came to the United States at the turn of the century. And I understood the story of Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof because I had heard these stories from my own parents. And when we did the show, very close to Boston, where I was raised, my parents came and saw me on stage for the first time since I was a teenager. And it was very exciting for them to come and see pretty much their story being told with me on the stage performing this role. So it was a very wonderful, emotional, and family experience for us. I thank you for bringing it up. Now, as far as me performing it now, Who put you up to this?
Fiddler on the Roof is one of my favorites.
If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, bum. There are two things that go when you get to be my age. One is your memory, and the other one I can't remember. What's the best? What's the line?
It would be Coronation Starscream. This is bad comedy.
Coronation.
Yeah, Starscream's got his coronation, and you fly in. I mean, it's not you, but I'm gonna. And Starscream says,
Coronation Starscream. And what?
this is bad comedy.
This is what? This is bad comedy. Is that the line, really?
It really is, yeah.
Bless you. Bless you, bro. Stuff people come up with, I'm telling you. How long did you lie awake working that out?
I told you no one would here to talk to me.
Thank you.
Mr. Nimoy, I just had a serious question, though.
A serious question?
Yeah. That was just for fun. But with TV and video and movies becoming more part of our culture as a people, what are your thoughts of Star Trek stepping away from an entertainment source and into becoming part of a culture?
Well, Star Trek is still an entertainment form. And the fact that it's become part of the culture is very flattering, and I think quite wonderful, because it's very positive. Star Trek is a positive story. It has a positive outlook about the future. And terribly important, people take for granted what the Star Trek crew is all about. The crew on the Enterprise are all highly educated, highly professional people. They really know how to do their jobs, they're trained to do their jobs, they have a loyalty and respect for each other, and they work together to solve problems. And that, I think, is one of the most important things that we learn from Star Trek. And I think that's why it's in the culture, because people appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This has been a terribly important part of my life ever since I was a teenager. I went into acting and went into the theatrical work because I wanted to make a contribution, and I thought that theatrical work can do that, to help people understand their lives better, to enlighten people, aside from entertaining, of course, which is terribly important. But I think the idea is to receive enlightenment from the things that we watch and the things that we produce for you. Beside my desk on the wall, there's a piece of writing that describes for me what the creative process is all about. It's an extraordinary piece, and I'll tell you what it says. It says, Edwin Booth, the actor, heard the solemn whisper of the God of all arts. I shall give you hunger and pain and sleepless nights. Also, beauty and satisfaction known to few, and glimpses of the heavenly life. None of these shall you have continually, and of their coming and going you shall not be foretold. And that, for me, sums up the life of the creative individual, the creative process. I have had the hunger and the pain and the sleepless nights, and I've also had the glimpses of the heavenly life and the beauty and satisfaction known to few, and I'm extremely grateful for it. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, blessed ride that I've been on for the last 60 years of the work that I chose to do when I was 17 years old. So I'm grateful to all of you and to all of the people who have watched and enjoyed the work that I've done. It means a lot to me to know that you've been out there and received something positive from it. Thank you very much for being here today.